Mannix killed me the other day, destroyed me the other day. I was not on the same level as Mannix at 1:30 in the morning on a post-game Celtic game.
What happened?
He was right. I was wrong. I was like trying to dance, couldn't dance. He kept calling me on it. It's like I got busted.
All right, Scal, the Warriors have the best record in the NBA, the best defense in the NBA, and oh, by the way, they'll have an all-NBA guard coming back sooner rather than later when Klay Thompson makes his return to the lineup. But there is still the possibility that the Warriors could get even better. On their roster, they have 3 lottery picks. James Wiseman, the former number 2 pick, and Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, 2 lottery picks from this last year's draft. Any one of those guys could be packaged together to get themselves another veteran player. Should the Warriors make a move involving their young pieces?
Now, I was all for the Warriors making a move this summer. I thought you had an opportunity to win the championship. I had no idea they were going to be this good, but my answer is probably no. I'm assuming that Klay Thompson's going to provide what they're missing currently right now. And I like Kevon Looney, but he's lost a lot of his athleticism. He's probably more of a 18 to 22 minute a game guy. So you bring in Wiseman. Wiseman can play also 20 minutes really hard. He brings that vertical spacing threat at the rim for these guys when they get downhill. So I would want to see what the Warriors have. Klay Thompson is going to be back for about 7 weeks before the trade deadline. Once I see what Klay Thompson is going to become and what Wiseman will be for this team, I will stand pat right now. But it doesn't mean I won't make a move at the deadline, but I got to see these guys and how they fit in with this team.
I mean, I get that. But if I'm Golden State, I'm having a few conversations with David Griffin down in New Orleans. The Pelicans, of course, are a mess right now. And they have got a 22-year-old small forward who has been favorably compared in the past to Kevin Durant. I'm talking about Brandon Ingram. And I think you put Brandon Ingram on the Golden State Warriors and you sew up the championship for this year. Andrew Wiggins has been really good for that team on both ends of the floor. He's been a solid defender. He's a plus 40% three-point shooter. But Brandon Ingram, with that group of guys, I think is going to be, or would be, an explosive scorer. And I think if you can package either it's Kuminga, Moody, throw Wiggins' contract in, and bring back a Brandon Ingram, who's 24 years old, again, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, I would do that for a Moody or a Kuminga, but the only problem I have with Ingram is that ball sticks in his hands a little bit too much. I don't know how long is it going to take him to adapt to the way the Warriors play. If you watch Wiggins is fully bought in to the way that the Golden State Warriors play. He's always drifting to open space. Draymond Green's hitting him in the corner after someone double-teamed Steph Curry. You're assuming that that's going to be easy. For some guys, they can never figure that out. So you're rolling the dice for a better player. I do agree with you from that standpoint, but I'm not sure that I'm confident that Brandon Ingram is going to jump on board with what the Warriors are doing. I do like what Wiggins and how he's adapted his game to their style.
Hey, there's an argument to be made for doing nothing. I get that. But if you do nothing before the trade deadline, you better win because there are options out there that could make Golden State better this season. Well, Scal, Zion Williamson is out, and there is no timetable for his return. Zion, who has not played this season, is still dealing with a foot problem. Meanwhile, out in Memphis, while Ja Morant is injured right now, he has emerged as the class of the 2019 draft class. So I'll ask you this. If you could redraft the 2019 class, where would you take Zion?
Yeah, second. I'm not one of these guys that think Zion's not going to work out. It might not. I mean, when you look at his weight and injury history, it might not work out. But Ja Morant has established himself as I'm not saying he's an MVP or a first-team All-NBA, but he's one of the better guards in the league right now. And the only thing that Ja Morant has to do differently than, last year, I thought he guarded a whole lot better. And now Memphis is winning with Ja out. So I think Ja needs to pick up his defensive intensity. But I do love the fact that he plays and he's tough. And I know he's missing a few games right now and Memphis is winning without him. But I do believe that Ja could be, not an MVP. I don't look at him as an MVP, but I look at him as a guy that could be first or second team All-NBA.
Yeah, I would still take Zion at number 1 Only because the issues he's dealing with right now, while significant, are happening when he's at an extremely young age. Zion's only 21 years old. And yes, he's only played in 85 regular season games over the first 2.5 years of his career. And yes, a foot problem on a big man that weighs as much as Zion does is a considerable problem. But Joel Embiid had foot problems early in his career. He got past them when he was in his early 20s and is now a perennial MVP candidate. What I've seen from Zion has told me, Scal, that a healthy Zion Williamson is a better player than a healthy Ja Morant. They're both great players, but I think healthy Zion, with his offensive versatility, his defensive explosiveness, all the things he can do out there, he's a very rare type of player. I think if he can find his way back on the floor long term, he's better than Morant.
So, in your world, this imaginary world that you live in, which we know it's imaginary, of course, how much does Zion weigh? How much does he weigh when he's healthy Zion? Are you at all concerned that he looks like he's about like 330 out there, like at 6'7", and he has an injury history?
I am concerned about that. I'd be more concerned if he was 26 and dealing with these problems, not when he's 21, not 22 until mid-July. So these are all major issues right now. Conditioning issues, foot issues, all these issues he's dealing with at this moment are problematic. But I think there are stuff he can get past. I think there are things that when he's the ripe old age of 23, there's a pretty good chance he's going to be past them. I think Zion can be a guy that plays 70 games a season. He played, what, 67 last year, 66? So he was active in last season. So I think Zion can be a guy that plays, and that is healthy pretty much every year.
All right. So if you think he's healthy, I think he's a better player. I'm just not sure on the health. Like the math doesn't add up. I don't think anybody in the history of the game has put that much force into the ground at that size. In the history of the game, go back, any player you want to, like LeBron, even LeBron he's not putting that type of force. Zion's second jump is like ridiculous. So my guess is just there's going to be and by the way, there's an injury history here. So obviously we're not doctors. We're not there. We're not seeing him every day. But this year in particular, like I was with you last year, this year in particular, I'm worried. So we have however many games he played the first year. He played great last year. I thought 67 games. This year, he might not play at all. So to me, I'm concerned. And then you add the fact, now if Zion was 265, you'd be like, man, I'm going Zion all day, 265. But man, he's got to be 320, 330. He's going to create that type of force. When he's big, he still goes out there and jumps. I would just be concerned long-term about his health.
Just got to get him on that, Awaken 180 weight loss or something there, Scal. Get him on some kind of diet there. He's good to go, baby. All right, Scal, let's play a game of pay, trade, or stay. Pay means extend the player. Trade, self-explanatory. Stay, let's play it out and see what happens. So let's start with Damian Lillard in Portland.
Trade all day. That's easy. I want the 4 first-round picks, the 2 right to swaps. He's 31. You're going to pay him $55 million. The team is going nowhere. Trade. That's easy.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Trade Damian Lillard. He's got 3 years left on his contract. That is the optimal amount of years for a team to want to acquire him. And you can get a haul and a half for a team that's going nowhere right now with him. James Harden in Brooklyn.
Oh man, this is a tough one. Like he's finally like the injury bug. He's like looks a little bit bigger, a little out of shape. But you're the Brooklyn Nets and you're trying to win an NBA championship. I would have extended him, so I don't want to be a hypocrite and saying what I would have done then versus now. So I guess I would extend James Harden. He loves hoops. I mean, he loves honey buns and he loves Magic City, but he also loves basketball. He doesn't miss workouts. I'm going to say pay.
Yeah, I'm going to say pay him too. He's young enough that you can probably count on getting pretty good value on a 4-year extension on that contract. And with Kyrie Irving in limbo, you need James Harden to maximize Kevin Durant. Zion Williamson, pay, trade, or stay?
Stay. I can't pay him. This year, he's up for a $165 million extension. I can't pay him $165 million. And I just can't do it. So he is stay. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, if Zion wants to give me like a crazy discount, I don't think he will. But let's say I come to him and say, give me 4 years, 80, give me 4 years, 100 million, 4 years, 80 million. Maybe a conversation could happen, but I can't give him a maxed out contract, not with all the injury history.
Yeah, I'm going to straddle the fence a little bit on this one because I would pay Zion Williamson if he's willing to do what Joel Embiid did a couple of years ago, which was create a contract that protected the Sixers against pre-existing injuries. If Zion will give the Pelicans that type of deal, I wouldn't be afraid of maxing him out as long as you were protected in case that foot issue becomes a larger one. If not, let him play it out. Let him hit restricted free agency and see what a team does in the summer of 2023. DeAndre Ayton.
I mean, I would have paid him. I think he's valuable. I actually, in a weird way, at first I was like, everybody and their mom is getting paid in the NBA, just crazy amounts of money. How come DeAndre Ayton isn't getting paid? But then I started looking at the books of Phoenix. It makes sense. Like, Devin Booker is playing at a good value. Even Chris Paul at his age of, I don't know, he's 65 years old. He's playing at a good value. I think they go to DeAndre Ayton and say, listen, you want to be a part of something special here? We're going to need you to take a max contract, like a 4-year max contract, whatever you can get out there, and you get an opportunity to stay here.
Pay him full max extension. The guy's the anchor of one of the top defenses of the NBA. He's averaging more points this season than he did last. He's not Luka Doncic. He never will be, but he's right behind him on that list. Finally, Bradley Beal.
I got to pay him. I mean, I don't think that in this situation, their team now, they guard people. They have a coach that's real good, like Wes Unseld Jr. Like, he really makes these guys and keeps them accountable on the defensive end. You need that scorer. I don't think there's really value for him outside of Washington. What are they going to do? Like, hit the reset button again? I would pay him. And ideally, one way or another, either develop, maybe Rui Hachimura would come back and become a lot better, or, just internally develop. And but I wouldn't get rid of Brad Beal. Even if I extended him, I would still be able to trade him in the future. Everybody wants a guy that can score 30.
Yeah, well, you say that, but Bradley Beal right now is averaging 22 points per game. He's shooting 27% from three, 44% from the field. He's having one of the worst seasons of his professional career. That's why I would trade him. The Wizards, they've got some good players, Scal, but these players are in their early 20s. You mentioned Rui Hachimura, a handful of other guys are in that mix. I think they're trending in the right direction, but giving Bradley Beal a 5-year contract after this season, does that move them closer to being a championship team? Or is it better to take Bradley Beal, who's still incredibly valuable across the league, and flip him for that Damian Lillard type package, a young player, multiple first-round picks, something that fits the timeline of the Washington Wizards right now? I've kind of done a 180 on this. Before the season, I said, pay Bradley Beal, give him the extension, whatever he wants. Now, after watching Beal this season, I'd trade him away and get pieces that fit the long-term vision.
That's funny because at the beginning of the year, I was like, trade him. Why would you want him? You're not going to get any closer. But now that I watch him, those players on their team are good. So I'm not going to penalize Brad Beal for getting a slow start. From my understanding, I don't know if he's vaccinated, so he has to jump through all these hoops and have his locker in a different place and all this other stuff. Maybe everything can settle in and all of a sudden Brad Beal can get back to what he was last year, or, he's missed some time with injury. So I'm going to go. I still think that I think he's 26 years old. He's still young enough to be good. So I would extend Brad Beal. I truly feel no matter what he gets paid, if you're in your 20s, I think you could trade a guy, an elite player in the NBA. If you're in your 30s, I think it's a different conversation. But in his 20s, I still think he'd have value if you extended him.
Yeah, but he's 28, Scal, and next year will be his age 29 season. You give him a 5-year contract and he puts up the same type of numbers at the start of next season, his trade value is going to plummet. I think you're right. I think teams will probably look at Bradley Beal right now and say, well, maybe their circumstances are impacting the way he's playing. But this becomes a season-long thing and bleeds into next season. If it does, you're not going to see the packages you'd be looking for if you're Washington.
Interesting. I thought he was only 26. You got him at 28. I thought he was a lot younger than I remember. Feels like he's been around the NBA just for a short time. But no, if you're right, you think back to when him and John Wall were doing their thing. Yeah, he was. I would still pay him. Even 28, you give him a 5-year extension, early 30s. I don't think it's unmovable.
It's not sourced material here, Scal. It's Basketball Reference. He is 28 years old. I don't have him at 28. He is 28.
I'm not going there.
Cut it there. Cut it there. Cut it there. Cut it there.